Where to put my mobile? Because I need it for their questions.
No idea.
Hello, beautiful people. Haven't seen you in 100 years. Now I can't find my mobile. Give me a sec.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Oh, we've just done some epic teamwork in this house. The girls are vacuuming and mopping. We rent this house and we've got an inspection tomorrow. And life's been crazy since we got back from Bali. And I was like, whoa, it's like 8:28. So Dave come and set up the room for me. And I was finishing upstairs and here I am. Sorry, I'm a minute late. Crazy night. I can pick up from dance at 8 p.m. and dentist at 7:15 p.m. to get mouth guards. My gosh. Let me just vent and have a whinge and then it will be your turn. Okay. Fuck my night. All right, good to see your faces. It literally feels like it's been 100 years. Let me pull up the post. Who's here? Shara, Martine, Danielle. Hey, Dan, good that you made it, even though you're on holidays. Marlon, Jess, Adele, Libby, Sarah. Cool. Lib, you just made, I literally haven't even looked back at this post, so don't worry, I'll let you. I should have actually told you that so you didn't waste your time typing it all out, you poor thing. All right. Cool. Okay. Let's do, is Haley here? Did she make it? No, she's moving today. No. Okay, all good. Well then, Marlon, looks like you're up first.
Good evening.
Good evening, lovely lady. Oh, hang on, there's people joining. Hang on. Oh, Jess is coming on. That's good. I haven't seen her face for so long. Hang on.
Welcome back.
Give him 10 seconds. What's that?
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. Very true, Liv. Okay, yes. So I know Danielle Keller's question is slightly tied into yours. So, or very similar. So just explain, I have read yours about, and I love how you own, what's been your stuff and all that kind of stuff. But there are still ways to change things. So do you want to, hello, Jess, by the way. I literally was talking about the other day and I said to Dave, I haven't seen Jess in ages because, I know that you were working and during the day, obviously it's UK time and whatever, and here you are. So there you go. Good to see you. Okay, so Marlon, elaborate just a little bit for me or maybe give me a little bit of context if there's any particular times where it's specifically worse or if it's all the time or what the scenarios are, just so that I can give you an answer. There's literally so many layers or so many, it can be such a broad answer. So if I can be as specific as possible, try to do that for you.
Sure. Well, basically it's pretty much anything I ask them to do as a family contribution or, just things that need to be done that I don't really want to do anymore because, they can do that and that would really help me out. And it seems to be we always get to the point where I'm like, all right, now I'm so resentful. We need to do something about this. Then we talk about it. They're like, yep, we'll do this. And then it just sort of fades out and then it becomes this massive drama every time I ask them to do something. And, just the whole, like every time I drive home from school, I'm already in the car going, all right, got to remind them because they're not going to take their bags out. And
so like you're already like expecting that they won't do it and you're planning for that
kind of, yeah, because they jump out the car and run. And I remember, you were talking, were you talking about Zach at some point that, for Tom, it's often that if there's nothing in it for him, I'm not going to do it. What am I going to, yeah.
Remember I talked to Marianne as well. I reckon you were on that call about the conscious bribe when she wanted her son to learn Spanish. And
no, I don't know that one.
Were you there that night when she,
so.
she's Spanish, right? And like they talk in Spanish pretty much all the time in the home, but he will never talk it and he understands it, but he won't say it back. And she really wants him to develop the language, but he literally can't speak it. He can only understand it. And I will mention to you about the conscious bribe, and because that worked instantly for her. You've just got to weigh up what's right for you according to your situation, your circumstances, your values, and what price you're willing to pay. Either way, you're going to pay a price somewhere. So you work out what works for you. And for her, I said, hey, just like the conscious smack has its place, so does a conscious bribe if you're doing it for the right reasons. And so, yeah, we do that. We do that with Zach a fair. I mean, some of you saw Dave's post yesterday today, and his ex-wife got on there today and went nuts, and then she blocked him, so all of her shit's gone. And anyway,
Oh God,
in all of that chaos, I was just like, whoa, here's the king or the warrior that came back from the retreat that never puts a thing on Facebook.
I was going to say, I
Has told me not to
anything.
put my fucking opinions on Facebook sometimes, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck what someone wants to think. Like,
yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but in the beginning, he was like, yeah, but you got a business, and I'm like, I don't care, because I've got the Holly effect, and then I'm Holly. And if you choose to follow my personal and private page, then you are following the unfiltered version of Holly. And if that's a problem to you, fucking unfriend me.
Yeah.
And quit. I don't care. Quit my business if you need to, because I'm not going to limit myself for that and let my business be a burden to me like that. When it comes to the Holly effect, I absolutely will extend myself to, like accommodate a lot of other things. So you've just got to work out what's right for you. But in that, because in our situation, healthy eating, particularly with a child with some pretty severe bowel issues and things like that, is like such a high value. It like using the conscious bribe is an absolute perfect go-to for us, because it's like I actually, the value of making him eat certain things, and not just for the health, but also just for the mind and the way that I understand the subconscious mind, and like I want him to understand the food, all this kind of stuff, the food that he eats. It's like, if we have to bribe him to go, hey, you eat this and this, and you can have some chocolate after or something, or you can have your packet of chips after you've had one banana, one bowl of strawberries today, and at least one of these other two things. So when you've had those, no worries, you can have a chocolate muffin, but you're in control of when you get the muffin. As soon as you've eaten these three things on the bench, you can come and get them.
That would work for Tom so well.
Yeah, you don't have to be hungry. You can eat when you want. You don't even have to have lunch. You can eat it. You choose when you want to eat. So that's the power you get with your food. You choose when you want to eat. Like, we do this a lot on weekends. You don't get to choose what you eat, but we will use a conscious bribe, because the unfortunate thing in our situation is being able to give really strong boundaries and have some consistency is basically impossible. And it's really unfair to him when over there it's a very different life, and where everything is sugar and chocolate, and you saw his lunchbox yesterday, right? And that's a standard deal, and that's after he's had hot chocolates and pancakes for breakfast and muffins for afternoon tea and KFC for dinner. So so it's pretty crazy. So you got to weigh up your values, right? And go, what is important to me, and what price am I willing to pay? And you bring into account, especially like with your kids with autism and things like that, like where is the line where it is a bit unfair on the child, because it's not his fault what he gets addicted to and what he gets fed there and all that. And in your situations, it's not anyone's fault that their brains work differently and that they, get fixed on what they want and all those things, right? So you got to bring all of that into play and go, what works right for me at this moment in time? And that can be different to what's going to be the right move for you to make in the same circumstances in 3 weeks' time. So just know that, especially with a situation like this, when it comes to responsibilities, because the biggest thing with responsibilities, I always link responsibilities and like family contributions. I always was very clear. I want to link that with my children's sense of compassion, and because without compassion, you don't make true contribution. So if it's true contribution, like a contribution is something you want, not just are willing to make, but you want to make, like there's some heart in it. You're like, I just want to feel like I've helped out, or I just want to offer a hand to someone, or I just want to make a donation. Like whatever it is, that whatever way you choose to contribute, right? So contribution and compassion, for me, I didn't want to force contribution, do contribution. I also didn't want family like responsibilities to always have this negative undertone of like, if you don't do it, it comes with punishment, and it comes with, like consequences, and it comes with pain, because if you don't do it, I'm going to take this away from you, those kind of things. Like I was very clear that I wanted to embed personal power, choice, empowerment, and a sense of compassion into all of that so that it was a choice. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
So this is how you've got to bring all the pieces together. On the, like you've heard me on lots of other topics. I'll be very direct. This is how I think it needs to be done. X, Y, Z. That's it. Fucking get tough and do it.
Yeah.
In this scenario, it's a very different story. And I'm talking for you, for anyone out there that's like, yep, I deal with this. Yep, we have our little family meetings and we go, yep, this is what needs to be done. And it works good for 5 minutes and maybe 3 days. And then by the end of the week, it's getting slack, but I can't be fucked, pulling them up on it. And then 3 weeks later, I find myself resentful because I'm doing everything and they're doing nothing.
Yeah, they pretty much do not, like, honestly, they're getting a pretty free ride.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, if I would, they would say, can you just pass me the toothpaste and the toothbrush because I can't do it.
Yeah, really, even with toothpaste and stuff.
Oh, everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. So yeah, that's all power stuff now, like an addiction to, being able to get you to be their servant. And yes, Jess, you can ask a question. That's totally fine. We'll definitely have time. So here's my answer then. You bring in a bit of everything. So like from the program, right? So the first thing I suggest in scenarios like yours is the family meeting type thing. And what I would really urge you to revisit if you haven't for a while is, I feel like I was saying this to someone else the other day. I feel like what really made things work in my life as a parent, like work quite permanently to the point where I did have the confidence to feel like I did it a good enough way to teach other people, for example, was family meetings were literally like a non-negotiable. And they were every week. They weren't a sometimes thing. We only do them when we've got a problem. And so their association becomes, oh, there's an issue. We've all got a family meeting. Our family meetings, when Greg and I were together, were always Sundays. And we used to do them at 4 p.m., right? Because then we could talk and blah, 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 and play some game. And we always played games afterwards. Like every time we'd have a different child that ran the meeting that was like, they would run we had like a bit of a, what do you call it? Like a fucking agenda. Yep. And so it was like, okay, now, first of all, we're doing, what can we acknowledge each other about? And what improvements have we noticed about each other? And the second topic would always be, what feedback have we got for each other? And then what improvements have we made as a family in the house and blah, blah, blah. So we had this little agenda. It was the same topics and it was easy for Miami to even do it 3 years old, right? Back then. Then, at the end of that, whoever was the host would get to choose the game that the whole family had to play together. No matter, it wasn't about whether or not you liked it. This was part of your contribution to the family. So they got to play. Sometimes we fucking played hide and seek and whatever they wanted to play. Bay always wanted to do something fucking, I don't know, getting wet or throwing flour on somebody or making goo or something. So thank fuck that only happened every 3 weeks, right? So we did them every week. And it became such a ritual in our family that even when we separated, initially we still did them. Like when we were separated, we still would do our family conversations. Like we'd get together on a Sunday and do it. And then when Greg and I got new partners and, really started having separate lives, he kept doing it with his partner and they still do. And we still do here, right? I mean, look, to be honest, we probably don't do it weekly now. And obviously we only have the kids every second week anyway. We don't quite do it every time. And mainly that's because they're teenagers and, they're always out and working and things like that. But that's the first thing I'm going to say, because this is something, the bottom line is kids are not meant to live with a brain that thinks about jobs, chores, and responsibilities. They're not wired like that. They're not supposed to be. They're in fun and creation and evolution, and nothing matters except for this moment I'm in. And I don't think of the next moment, let alone a child that's neurodivergent, right? So I know it's annoying for us to have to always remember, and I always have to remind you, and it works for 3 days and by day 5, it's not working. That's why you need a family meeting every 7 days, right? And the family meeting needs to be something that, like I said, doesn't just happen when there's an issue, because then they're like, I fucking hate these family meetings, because it's always something. I walk away from that with more to have to do, more to have to contribute. There's been a problem, this kind of thing, right? So it needs to be something like we do this, and I do this in all of my relationships as well that I've had, where it's like we do these conversations every day or every week, these certain conversations where like they take 2 minutes or whatever, but we do them every day no matter what, so that when somebody's got a problem, the hardest part is raising, hey, can I have a chat about something because I've got a problem? And then the other person's like, oh, for fuck's sake, what is it now? And boom, like there's the start of the conversation, and it hasn't even started yet. So we create a space where there's space to raise a problem or provide feedback, even if there is none, for the benefit of the day when there is some feedback that needs to be given or there is a problem. And the one thing you don't have to do is ask for the space. And it changes everything. It changes how everyone shows up to that moment, basically, right? So it's a principle that I apply in lots of areas of my life and relationships and parenting. So that's my first thing, family meetings. This is why they're so important. It's all on the third pillar, building family solidarity. If you feel
I'm just redoing it, so that's good.
Oh, right, cool.
Yeah.
Third pillar, all that's in, okay? And like how to do it and how to do the topics. So we do family conversations around nightly thing, family meetings or a weekly thing, right? So within that now, when it comes to when you would do a family meeting or when you approach this, I you know how I mentioned I want it to come from compassion. Like I want these situations to evoke a human connection where I don't have to ask and beg for you to help. You get to a place where you're able to reflect on yourself and you want to make a contribution. So in your scenario, my suggestion would be create a scenario where, hey, let's do a family topic and let's all talk about, you know, like some challenges we're having at the moment. Something like that, right? So everyone gets their chance. And when it comes to you, your challenge is actually, you know, or maybe it could be a challenge of like, let's do a topic tonight in our family where we have to humble ourselves and ask for help from each other, because asking for help can be a hard thing sometimes, right? And as much as I want to teach you to be resilient and be independent, I also want you to know that it's never a weakness to ask for help. So tonight's conversation is you have to find something about your life or about anything in your life that you could probably do with some help on, and you're going to ask the family for some help on something. So whatever you want to use to frame it, do it so that you get your chance to do yours, right? And yours is something like, so this is how you go into compassion, right? So, you know, to be honest, I've actually been feeling like things are really unfair at the moment. And if I was to share my whole heart vulnerably without holding back on my truth, lately I've been feeling very taken for granted and very not acknowledged. Like no one's really noticing the work that I do and the work that I feel gets created for me. And I feel like there's so many little things that would be such small efforts for other people to contribute and to be able to, you know, put in some effort and help with. And it's only such a small 3-second thing for other people. But when it gets left for me and I've got 15 of them because 3 people haven't done 5 things each or something, like that's a big deal to me. And at the moment, I'm just feeling like, you know, I feel like I do my best to care for everyone. And I'm feeling a bit like no one really cares about me. And that doesn't mean you don't care about me, but it's just how I'm feeling. And so, for example, it's just little things. It's like lately I've noticed I've been getting everyone's school bags out the car, and you don't just aim it at the kids. You've got to put something in there for your husband and, you know, maybe for grandma that comes over on a Tuesday or just
there's
whatever.
Plenty for my husband.
Right, good, right? And you and him go into this conversation knowing this is the intention of the conversation, and he needs to use you as some examples just to take the brunt off what the kids are going to cop and vice versa, right? So you cop it, and then you guys be an example in this moment. So for example, if you said, you know, like just to some examples, you know, the school bags were left there, plates weren't put in the wash, you know, people's shoes were just like, these are things that honestly would probably take, I don't know, maybe to walk from there to there would probably take 4 seconds, might take 7 seconds for somebody to do that. But, you know, it's just something that would be so small that would mean a lot to me that people don't care about. And I'm feeling they don't care about. And so then you point out something for your husband. You know, another example is like the other day, you know, for example, Daddy, you did this or you didn't do that, and that really made me feel like this or whatever, and you leave it. And you don't necessarily ask for help because the topic is we're asking for help or something, right? Or we're giving feedback. And so what happens is you then be an example. So you get your husband he would then say, you know what, Marlon, I'm actually really sorry about that. And I know exactly the moment you're talking about. And you know what? It's funny because I walked past that a couple of minutes earlier and I did see it. And you know what? You're right. I could have done something about it and it probably would have taken me less than 30 seconds. And I did have the attitude of, I'll just leave it till later. Oh, well, who cares? And I forget that you actually care. And that's a way that I can contribute to your values. So I'm actually sorry for that. And I'm going to make an effort to check in with myself about those little things that I could do that aren't a big deal to me, to be honest, but they could make a big difference to you. So this is the biggest thing when you really want to evoke compassion. And it is harder if you're in a single parent family. But it's best to do it by example. And that's it. And then the kids voluntarily go, yeah, mum, so, and if they don't, you then go to another level in the conversation. So everyone says their thing. And then we go, okay, so now on the next way around on this family conversation, let's now go back to everyone's problems that they've asked for help with. And we all have to make a suggestion on what we could do or what we want to do to be able to help that member of our family. What would you be willing to do? And so let's start with Tom. How could we help him with his thing? How could we help Ruby? And then you're not first, you're just part of it, right? It's not about you. And you never said, I would really like some help. I'd really like you guys to get the bags and to do this and to do that. And you didn't say any of that. You want to, raising conscious children is about getting them to build that awareness. And also when you're not putting it on them, what to do, how to do it, what you need from them, they've got nothing to resist. And I won't say it guarantees it because, sometimes you're going to be like, well, I don't fucking care. I don't want to help. I don't care about my school bag. I don't care if it's in the car overnight, right? So sometimes you'll get that because we're dealing with little people, not little robots. But most of the time you'll get a voluntary moment of compassion that's from now on, I'm going to do my school bag and I'm going to do this and I'm going to make sure my plate goes in the dinner. And mum, I'm sorry. Sometimes you might have to remind me, but when you ask me, I'm going to make sure that I do that straight away, even if I'm playing in it. They go all of a sudden when it starts to become part of the culture of your family. They go over the, you know what, mum? We even used to do meetings and sometimes even now still where I'll have a discussion like this. And then they'll make a good contribution in the conversation. But then they'll go away. And 2 hours later, I'll get a letter from one of them going, I just wanted to say I'm really sorry about that. And here's what I promised to do, and they're fucking line out way more than they even need to do, right? But the point is, that's the win. Because the win isn't I got you to get your bag and I got you to do this. The win in all of this is that I got you to be aware of your contribution to our family and how your choices and behaviors affect our space and how you can make improvements. And I got you to a place where you willingly and wanted to do something to make a difference instead of, because what doesn't work for long or doesn't work often is when we have to come down hard and go, right, this needs to happen. And, this isn't happening and that's it. No more this until this. That works really well if it's not done too often. Same with punishments. Punishments works really fucking well if you only use them 10 to 15% of the time. They will fucking work. But if you're using them 40% of the time and consequences for every second thing that happens, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think what really resonated with me was when you were saying, when I was saying about the toothbrush, that everything's become a power play between us. And so when I try and get them to do it the way I've been doing it, like you said, with, I want you to take it back, it's another bit of power I'm taking out, especially with Tom. He's constantly complaining about not having any power over his life and that everything's just planned out. And that's another thing he has to do. And so, yeah, it's definitely not a voluntary thing for him. That's for sure.
I get that. So on that scenario, Danny, just to answer your question in the comments, I don't know. I know you're on holidays and you might, I don't know. Were you here at the beginning of my discussion with Marlon? I was talking about family conversations and why they really need to be a weekly thing. They need to be like a family ritual. Oh, you were? Okay, cool. So so when you say, do you revisit if everyone slackens off? That's why weekly family meetings work because because it won't slacken off in less than a week. And if it does, it's only slackened off in the last 1 or 2 days. And you can get onto it before it gets to the point where you're starting before you start resenting it. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Like with the family, those family meetings were like the heartbeat of, don't get me wrong, sometimes they're very inconvenient and a bit exhausting and annoying and fuck, why do we have to even do these meetings to get shit across? But I'm either going to put effort in doing that, or I'm going to put effort in dealing with the shit that doesn't happen because I don't keep my finger on the pulse with it all. That makes sense, right? And I don't want to program them in a way where we get, and I know you don't want them to be so focused on their chores and responsibilities that they lose their childhoods and they're thinking about their responsibilities and their contribute. Like we want them to be free and be children, but we know that they need to, and I would, how often we are allowed to revisit it. So, thank you for saying that, Danny. A really good point here is this, and this is my next thing for you, Marlon. In whatever way you do the conversation, do it in like question form. And this is another good thing. Like, let's say you had a family conversation, kind of got some shit sorted, and next week you're like, it kind of needs to be touched on again, not fully addressed, but it's slipping and I just want to keep my finger on it. So what you do is, instead of doing a big meeting about it all the time, you do a big meeting. And if each week we even used to have, I'm trying to remember, I mean, this is like 7 years ago now, what the 3 topics were that we had. We had 3 topics in the feedback section that no matter what, every week we touched on. And we just said, and the question was, and we didn't have conversations about it. We said, how do you think you are going, or we are going as a family, on the topic of cleaning up after ourselves? How do you feel that's been going? Like if you just had a moment to reflect on yourself and you thought about, because we had things like people's wet towels being left on the ground and not hung up, and, dirty clothes left on the bathroom floor instead of put in the basket in their bedrooms or something like that. So we had these few little things where like Greg used to be like, fuck, if we're raising 3 girls, I'm not having fucking knickers all over the house. This is not going to happen. So that was a big thing. So so it might be that your basic responsibilities might be bringing things out of the car, whatever, cleaning up after dinner, make it simple. And maybe, for example, autonomy with personal hygiene, right? So washing your hands or brushing your teeth or washing your hair at least twice a week or something like that, right? Whatever it might be. Just keep it simple. And so you can create a scenario in your family meetings where we don't discuss, it's always on the agenda, but it's just how do you feel you're going with that? How do you think we're all going with that? Does anyone here have anything they wanted to say about, maybe you feel like you're contributing more than someone else, or you feel like someone else is slacking? Did anyone have any comments to make about that topic? Is everyone feel like it? And all it does is it brings it back to the front of their mind. Does that make sense? Without having to do a full feedback session on it. So you're basically touching on it every week. But if you touch on it every week, I don't know, maybe it's 3 months before you have to do big conversations on it, before it slips so much that you start resenting it.
Yeah, no, this is really helpful, because I think that's one thing we've been doing, like doing a family meeting once every 2 months or something, because we're so annoyed. And then, of course, they're not going to sit there and go, yeah, let's.
It feels like shit. It doesn't even feel good. You're coming here to vent and
yeah.
you've got like an outcome agenda. So it's actually manipulative energy, because you're not coming here for genuine open discussion as a family where we all get to contribute our own input on the same level. You're coming in as the authority parent with your cute little way of coming in the back door with shit that you need done. That's not a family discussion. That's mum's agenda put on all of us that we can feel, you know what I mean? So this is the thing with family meetings. Like,
yeah, that's great.
They can be the hard.
To
and I feel
reframe
like
that.
all these little things will just dissolve. They just won't be problems. And, the effort to do a 1 hour meeting, our meetings, we used to set an hour. And I think I've told you guys all, I always made a platter. Like we always had like my kids love platters, like, picking platters. And obviously they take a fair bit of effort and whatever to make. So, but that was our thing. Like we always did it over a platter, and I loved it because they ate nothing but healthy food, carrot sticks, celery sticks, fucking hummus, blah, 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 all of whatever we put out there, as well as some crackers and some salami or something like that. That might not be perfect, but whatever. And so it was, we would do like it takes half an hour to do the meeting and then half an hour to play a game. And then we were like, fuck, if we can't devote an hour of our time, attention, energy as parents, 1 hour a week for the benefit of the people we're raising and how we all get along and how we all feel towards each other and all of this, so that resentment doesn't build too much in this space. If we're saying that we don't have time, effort, or energy for 1 hour, like, we shouldn't have fucking had kids, to be honest. Like that's the deal.
Yeah, I think the whole playing a game after would be good too for Tom. He'll like being able to pick something, like being in charge of something.
That's right. And then the next week you're not in charge. Deal is bad luck. You're playing the game that your sister wants to play. That's the deal.
Yep. Yeah. No,
so
that's
still boundaries. And then just asking when you are in moments, like let's say they've agreed to it. And this is for you too, Danny, with what you're saying about Jack while you're away. And obviously he's on holidays and he's got cousins or whatever he's got, and they just want to go fishing and catch sharks and do cool stuff. Like, just do it in question form. So there's 2 ways to do it. Can I just ask a question? Do you feel like you've covered your responsibilities? Because I noticed you're just about to get the surfboard, or I noticed you're just about to go do whatever they're about to do. And I mean, I consider that a privilege. Like, I feel like that's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. Do you feel like you've made enough contribution regarding the plate you just left on the table, like to really have access to that privilege? So, and if he says yes, go, okay then, if that's your opinion, like, you've got to choose whether or not you want to let it go or not. But it's not always about making them do it. It's about bringing it back to the forefront of their mind. Otherwise, the other thing is to take something away without them knowing. Like, you're not saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this, or you won't have that, or whatever. So you do when you can. So it's like, let's say, I'm just going to use Danny as an example. Let's say you guys are down at Streaky Bay at the moment and he wants to go out with the boogie board or something. And he hasn't done a few things, like shit's left around the lounge room or whatever. And so you go and you take the boogie board, and it's not at the front door anymore or wherever he leaves it. It's gone. He'll go, Mum, where's my boogie board? Or where's this? Or maybe you take the key out of the motorbike and he goes to ride it and there's no key in it, or just whatever it might be, whatever you can do. And choose something that you can control, even if they don't know it right now. He might not go on the boogie board. He might not even realize the boogie board's missing until 3 hours later. So you've kind of got to weigh up. I want to give my child a lesson here. I don't want to come on hard. I don't want to drum it into them, but I want them to get the lesson. And it's okay if it takes fucking till tomorrow for them to realize that something they wanted is not there and they're going to have to ask for it. And in the meantime, I'm okay. So what you need to do is be okay with leaving whatever they haven't done where it is. So you can't be like, oh, this is pissing me off so much that I just need to clean up the floor, and then tell them that the floor wasn't cleaned up. You need to be okay with leaving out whatever they've left out, whatever you need them, or leaving the school bag in the car, or whatever they've done that's a big inconvenience. You need to be okay with inconveniencing yourself a little bit so that you can provide the lesson. So you don't use it as a threat, right? So consequences work on another level when they're not threats. When we're not saying, this will be the consequence, and if you choose that, you'll get this. Sometimes it's just, there's no discussion. It's gone. Like, I'm not even announcing it. I'm not warning you. It's fucking just gone. And it's not even about what you'll lose. Now it's about what you'll get back when you do something. So when they come, go, oh, where's this? Oh yeah, I actually took that. I've got that in a spot. Well, why can't I have it? Well, you can. As I noticed your shoes were out, and I've noticed your bag hasn't been brought in from the car. So as soon as you've done that, I'll get it for you. So it's not even about what you can't have. It's about what you can have. And it's when you pick up this and you use descriptive praise, this is there, that is there, and that's missing. When all that's covered, I'll give it back to you. In the meantime, you don't have access to it.
Love it.
See what I mean? So it doesn't have to be a threat, doesn't have to be something you announce. It's just gone. Maybe they notice, maybe they don't. And you've got to be okay with waiting, and you've got to use a scenario that works so that all of a sudden they're like, where's that gone? Why can't I have that? Why is that locked? Why this? How come my iPad won't turn on? Oh, yeah, because I ran the battery flat overnight. Oh, well, I need to charge it. Where's my charger? No, I've put the charger away. Why can't I have it? Why have you got to? Well, you can have it. But I have noticed that some of your responsibilities haven't been covered the last couple of days, and I've let it be. And I haven't had a go at you. I've just decided that it's not fair for me to cover all those things. So when your teeth are brushed, and when that's done, you can have the charger back immediately. So it's only what they'll do to get back what they want. So it's also a bit of a conscious bribe without bribing with something, like chocolate or bad stuff. But then
Yeah.
the last tip on all of this is, especially in your situation, you know, when Tom's feeling really powerless and he's voicing that all the time and things, and you've got, you know, kids with different brains and things like that, they do work differently, is to be able to use a conscious bribe sometimes and go, guys, you know, here's the deal. I get that you're tired. I get that you want to be kids. You want to run and play. You don't want to think about the jobs to do. But you know what? I'm using my courage. I'm asking for help. I'm noticing I'm starting to get really annoyed. I don't want to be annoyed at my family. So I'm going to ask for help. Instead, I'm going to step into this moment and ask for some help. I need this done, and this done. And the deal is, I get that it's not fun for you to do it. Okay. So I'm happy to put a reward in it for you today. When those things are done, we'll all get this, or you'll get this. And maybe don't do a we all with your kids, because if one kid does and one kid doesn't, you don't want them to miss out because of each other. So just let them be in control, and give them whatever, a chocolate, a treat, something special, an extra iPad time, whatever. In a moment where you're like, the value of this bribe is higher than the price I pay, which is why I'm willing to do it, because I'm going to lose my shit. I don't want to lose my shit. I'm starting to fucking hate being here. I'm going to, I just feel, when you're in that space, use a conscious bribe. Just find a way to get it done. Use your energy in a different way and just go, I don't want to lose my energy on this. I get that it's shit for you guys to do. I get that it's boring and it's annoying. I get it. Like, it is for me too. And it's even worse for kids. I know that, because kids don't think like adults. And so I know it's annoying. And, you know, instead of doing it just because I said, I'm going to put something in it for you, and be open about the fact that that's what I'm choosing to do today. I'm happy. I need it done so badly that I'm just going to, I'll give you some chocolate for it.
Awesome. Thank you,
Okay?
Holly.
And don't be guilty about that moment. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for your time. Awesome.
No worries. We went pretty deep there, but I think we covered lots of scenarios.
Yeah, that's
for every
really
person.
good. Yeah. Thank you.
No worries, darling. Let me just see what Danny wrote. Thank you. Other wording about Jack wants to choose his responsibilities each time. Jack is just a leader. Leaders negotiate. Do the dishes, but not take the bin out. What wording can I use to explain that some days we will choose responsibilities and there will be no negotiation? So my suggestion with that, Danny, about what wording can you use when there's no negotiation? My suggestion would be, and I know you have super, super conscious kids and you raise them super, super, super consciously. So in your scenario with Jack especially, I would say exactly what you've said. Hey, sometimes you get to choose, sometimes you don't. Today, it's not negotiable, but here's the thing with a leader. There always has to be a negotiation point. So, for example, I would say to Jack, like, literally, you've given me memories of Bayer, to be honest. So I would literally say, hey, this week, I'm non-negotiable. We're away on holidays. I'm here by myself at the moment. It's non-negotiable. All the jobs need to be done. What I am willing to negotiate on is, because this week you have to do a lot of things you don't want to do and there's no negotiation, I'll give you extra negotiating power with me for the next 2 weeks when we get back home. And so when we get back home, you give me 1 week now, and for 2 weeks when we get back home, you won't have to do the bins at all. Not because like normally we do them once or twice, you don't get to choose or whatever. I'll let you have X. So 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 times, whatever. So put something in it at a time where it will work for you, where you're like, I fucking just need you to help now. Even if it means I have to do more myself when I get back home in 2 weeks. Like, you're working with a leader, an entrepreneur, and that's like, give me something that's in it for me, or why would I do it? So when today, after 2 days of them being, he says, why should I take the bin out? What did he say? Why should I take the bin? You haven't done the bin yet these holidays. What a legend. I would just own that and go, yeah, you're right. I haven't done the bin these holidays. You know why? Because I don't do the bins on holidays. You know why? I do a whole lot of other things. And on holidays, it gets to feel like a holiday for me too. And what makes it feel like a holiday for me is the fact that my kids do the bins. So that's why I don't do the bins on holidays. So you're right. I haven't done the bin, and that's why you should do it, because that's how you give me a bit of a holiday, just like I'm giving you a bit of a holiday by giving you the boogie board and the surfboard and the fishing rods and all. That's your holiday, and me not having to do a couple of things is my holiday. So just own it and fucking throw it at him. Does that help? This is my life every day. I like to chuck in sarcastic. As per previously mentioned. Is that yeah, yeah. So true. Yeah, I do a bit of sarcasm too. All right. Anyone have any questions on that topic? I feel like it's very broad, covers a lot of families, a lot of children. Some of you maybe have or haven't got to the third pillar in the program yet. While we're on that topic, because we don't have as many questions tonight, so it's fine. Does anyone have any questions around that right now, around what we've just talked about, before we go into another topic? No? Okay. Well then, we'll move on. So, I'm just going back to the post. Danny, not Danielle Keller, but other Danny. Is that you, Danielle Bugden? Oh, whoops. I think I just asked. Oh, yep. Hello. Oh, yes. Now I can see your face. How are you?
Good.
Good
I
to
was
see
putting
you.
the kids to bed before, so I was just listening and had my video off. But
Oh, that's okay. It's great to see your face.
yeah, it's been a while.
And I love your question. I saw this just before I ran out to get Amani, and getting Tess right worrying about hours. So here's what I wanted to ask. I just wanted to confirm that I did read it right, first of all, that you're struggling with. So it's not you that's got anxiety with your 10-year-old's results. It's your 10-year-old who has like anxiety himself.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
So having like breakdowns and being really emotional and upset that, like this morning, going off to school, you know, we go to school and he's like, Mum, I need to practice my times tables. And he's been told by the end of the year he's meant to know his times tables, and they're working on each bit by each bit, and they have little tests each week. And so I'm like, okay, we can practice your times tables. I'm driving. I need to concentrate on my driving right now. I'll put a little times table video on, on his audio, so he's listening to the times tables on the way. And then he gets to school, and then he has this massive breakdown for 20 minutes of, oh, I'm never going to learn the times tables. Oh, I'm so bad at maths. I'm going to get them wrong. Oh, I should know the 3 times tables by now. I don't know the 3 times tables by now. And it's just like this massive, like he's so overwhelmed by the thought of getting one wrong, or
is this mostly like, are these big scenarios with particular topics like maths? Like he genuinely struggles with maths, for example, and even though he might not have perfect confidence with other things, he's not as bad as he is with something like maths? Or is this happening across the board in lots of areas?
This is happening in his Irish dancing. This is happening with spelling. This is happening with everything at the moment.
Okay.
Like it's everything he does wrong means he's bad at it. He couldn't get one of the dance steps right, and he's frustrated. He's not as good as he wants to be, so he's like, oh, I'm bad at dancing. I'm going to quit dancing. This is terrible. I'm not as good as everyone else, and just having that full defeated attitude. It's just spreading everywhere, and I just need to stop it before it becomes a persona of him kind of thing.
Okay. Now here's my next question, because this is really a soul parenting question. Like I can see, so this isn't, I'll get to it, but what are you and or his dad like in terms of your own personal anxieties or feelings about yourself not being good enough, or not doing something well enough, or like I'm looking at like the generational patterns that get passed down? Be real with me and give me a little bit of a rundown on that. And also, how do you feel when you know he feels like this? Like, does this almost give you an anxiety because you don't know how to fix him, and you don't want, it's like it kind of triggers what you used to feel about yourself, or you do sometimes. And so it's like you don't want him to feel what you know you have felt in your past, or something like that?
That's an interesting thought. Yes, I suppose.
There hasn't been any like big bullying leading up to this or anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
He does feel like, I think he doesn't feel like he's got a lot of friends, and he does feel like no one kind of gets him because he kind of doesn't fit into the big mainstream group, and he doesn't he kind of feels a bit lost in where he fits in, I think,
Okay.
in that sense. But yeah, I suppose maybe we both of my husband and I have got some stuff from the past.
'Cause
anxiety-wise.
my first intuition and instinct is a very strong feeling that this is like this is a projected energy, especially if it's kind of almost come from nowhere and it's this bad. It's probably not all his. It's probably barely even his. It's like his processing on behalf of someone else. He's like, you know, maybe an empath, and he's literally interpreting an energy and doesn't know what to do about it. And if you guys anywhere in your life, even if you don't feel like now as adults, but back at your life, if you look at what you struggled with at school, or you know, like what you might have, you know, let's say for example, let's say if it was you at school and you were pretty good at school, but you were shit at maths, let's say, and you hated maths because you always had to, I don't know, read out your answers to the class. And so it wasn't just that you weren't good at it, but there was shame attached to it. Or you'd work with I remember my daughter, Miami, last year, struggled with her maths. Like that's not a natural subject for her. And we got her a tutor. Actually, Danielle Keller was her amazing life-changing tutor. But in that process, one of the biggest things that just like crashed her confidence wasn't just that she wasn't good at it, because she's genuinely pretty okay with going, I'm not good at everything, and like there has to be something I'm shit at in life, and maths is my thing, right? But what it was this teacher used to get them to do lots of they do their work and then they have to give it to their partner, and the partner marks it. So that what she was ashamed about is my peer gets to see that I'm really shit. Like it's like I'm okay not being good at it, but when my peer marks it, like I don't want them to laugh at what they think's an easy answer and I got it wrong. So it brought in like this shame basically, which then absolutely plummeted any last residual bits of confidence she had with maths. And we had to, you know, like I said, we got to. So if you had a scenario like that in your life where there was some kind of struggle in any subject, or any, might not have even been at school, could have been in, you know, some kind of sport or something that somehow had shame attached to it, and you never really dealt with it or processed it, you've just kind of moved on and become an adult and it's just a thing in your past, then what happens is when he goes through anything of those similar emotions, there's an energy field, and if he's an empath, and it sounds very much like he very much is, I mean, you are never talking to him verbally. He's only ever hearing what you're saying vibrationally. And so the minute that he's got this struggle or he's got this powerlessness, and no matter what you say, it doesn't help him, because he's like, but I'm shit, but I'm bad, but no one's gonna, I'm so dumb and I should just quit. And I'm not like you've lost the battle. Like that is not even a battle that you can help, right? Like that's an all him kind of thing. And in that moment, what it will do is it will trigger your powerlessness, and it will trigger any unresolved emotion that you've got in your life from where you might have felt like that. And you want to literally do anything you can to just save your child from that feeling, because you know how debilitating it is. And so energetically, there's a very insecure feeling around it. And he gets the vibrational message that this is something he should be scared of, because this feels like fear right now.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Talk to me, babe.
Yeah, I don't know. My husband's just left his job because he felt like he couldn't do it, and he was all depressed, and so yeah, there's that. That's
take a breath, a breath, and I want you to just drop in for a second with me, okay? Because I can see there's a lot holding right now, a lot, and from what I've just heard, I could feel something. Like I knew this was a big projection, right? And then if your husband has just left, then all of those feelings, and even the failure he might feel he is because he had to leave and there was no other way to resolve it, that is all energetically being picked up by your son right now and taken on by him. And as a child, they do try to take burdens for us and carry them on our behalf without knowing that that's what they're doing. And so at the same time, for you personally, you've now got at the moment a son and a husband that need you to save them. And that's a very unfair and heavy burden for you to carry. And that must be overwhelming.
Yep.
So how are you feeling?
It's hard to even know what I'm feeling, really. Just feel completely lost and just not sure about everything. It makes me not sure with all my own stuff as well. So yeah.
So if you really want to like uproot this like at a deep level and not just deal with it on a surface, like how do I get him to stop saying this? To be honest, if I was going to be totally blunt with you and you're okay with me being like that, right? When we want to just kind of sort out much, just Holly, just tell me what I can say to just stop him from feeling like that or saying that. That's not even really about genuinely wanting to help the child. That's about like, this just makes me feel so fucking bad myself and so powerless and so helpless. And I can't deal with how can we just like, can you just give me a word or a sentence or just something that I can stop this thing and make him think that he's good again. And then I won't have to feel what's coming up. So what's happening right now is a generational cycle that's opening and is literally a cycle that is primed for breaking. Right now, and the fact that your husband, for whatever the circumstances were, he obviously got to a point, no matter how low he had to get to first. The bottom line is he got to a point where he found the courage to honor himself, put himself first, and to walk away from something or to quit something or whatever the deal was that was diminishing him. And that is probably a really that's probably a cycle he's breaking in the generations of his family on its own, maybe in his life ever before, as well as any of his generations before him. They probably just put up with shit lives forever and, hated their lives, and he's broken the cycle. But your husband's nervous system, it's like, I was even saying this to Dave with a bit of conflict that's going on Dave's Facebook page because of his ex-wife. And Dave also is at a helpless moment. Like for years has really been trying everything he can, communicating. He went and paid for some child nutrition programs and all that with specialists to help with fussy eating kids. And he paid for a program and he gave it for free to his ex-wife and she never watched a video and all these things. And Dave, similar to you, is like at a point where him posting that on social media, he's like, I don't care. What I know, all I care about right now is that my son stops being fed this shit that's literally causing him to have bowel issues at school and everything. And I'm at the point where I will go into battle for my child, even if I look like a dickhead, even if I have to shame the shit out of my ex-wife. I know she does everything for how she looks to people. So if I make this public, she'll fucking stop doing it. She will change what goes in his fucking lunchbox, not because she wants her child to be healthy, but because she doesn't want to be exposed on social media and she wants to appear a certain way. So he went and put a photo of the child's lunchbox yesterday and exactly shame, trigger. But you watch, I bet you his fucking diet changes, right? So the thing is, I said to him, because he spoke up, and in his family, they don't do that for years, never, no one speaks up. He got messages from his sister, got messages from his aunties, oh, mate, I can't believe you did that to Sarah. He's like, are any of you even open to considering that you can't believe she feeds the child that when he poos his pants every day at school and he's, in grade 1 and all this kind of stuff? And so what happened was, what's going on with your husband, he stepped into his power and he spoke his truth and he stepped into his wholeness. I don't care if this is a bit politically incorrect. Fuck it. I'll try the last option. I'll do it. But even though that was what he wanted to do, still 10 minutes later, there's a nervous system response because all of his life, he's been taught to avoid conflict, not create conflict. And as he's getting all these messages from people in the family going, what the hell are you doing? Don't rock the boat. We don't speak up. We don't hurt people's feelings. We don't call people out in our family, even if they're basically abusing a fucking child and, feeding them chips and chocolate when they've got bowel issues and this kind of thing. And so he's seeing the pattern even more, but still his nervous system for 39 years has been one to avoid conflict. So even though he knows what he's saying is right and it's what he needs to do and wants to do and it's his truth and he's breaking these cycles and he doesn't fucking care if he hurts their feelings because clearly the cycles need to be broken, it still has the nervous system response of shrinking and going fuck, almost wanting to delete it and wanting to it's like a big response. And you're going to go through that. And I wanted to give you that story because we can often see someone else's scenario easier than we see our own. But once we see the same scenario in someone else, we can relate to it in ourselves. So, hopefully giving you that little bit of an idea of Dave is yeah, that's what's happening. Like, I know this is right, or I know it's right that my husband's quit his job or whatever, but still, no matter how right it is that those decisions have been made, there's still going to be the nervous system that has to clear out old cycles, and they only get broken by getting replaced. And they only get replaced by being triggered and being in one of those moments and being overridden with a new way. Right? So this is also happening for your son now. Okay. Your way to deal with it is two things. You and hopefully your husband, but if not him, you can't control him. And I'm talking to you, need to really show up deeply to your journey. It's time. You need to really step into some really deep healing. Okay. You're seeing that any cycle you haven't broken is now being passed on, and you're seeing the manifestation of that. And I'm not saying that to guilt you or for you to feel bad. I'm saying that for you to increase your awareness and go, this is a moment of, as much as it can be a moment of guilt, it's also a moment of power. And this is where I get to change everything for the, all the generations from here on. Secondly, how you deal with your child is by not trying to fix him. Let him feel like a failure. Let it be okay that you feel like a failure. And all I want you to do is validate what he is feeling without needing to change it. I want you to do this for 2 weeks, right? Come back on this call, no matter what you have to cancel and rearrange in your life, come back here in 2 weeks, right? And what I want you to do in the meantime is I want you to just practice letting anything coming from your son be okay. Failure, self-hatred, low self-esteem, if it turns into self-loathing, whatever. And the way you let it be okay is you hear him and you say, that must be so hard to feel like that. I see pain in your eyes. I feel how hard this is for you to practice like you do, to be as committed as you are, to practice your times tables on the way to school, and then to get here and feel like you're going to fail and get it wrong. That must be so difficult. And I just want you to know you have every right to feel that way. And anyone in your situation would feel like that. And I don't want you to then tell him, but remember, you're good at this, or, you might do better than you think you will, or just believe, just don't do any of that. Just meet him where he is without needing an improvement, a change for 2 weeks. This is going to lay foundations for us to then go a bit deeper with him once he's got this true unconditional love, that I can love you as you are without needing a change of any kind for my comfort or even for yours. I am just as okay with you sitting in your pain as I am with you sitting in your happiness and your achievement, because this is part of your wholeness. Now, where you'll struggle is if you can't sit with your own wholeness and your own pain as much as you can sit with your own achievement, then it's nearly impossible to sit with that in our children. So as you're even attempting to do this homework, it's going to be a journey for you by default, because you're going to be like, fuck, now I realize how much I just want to fix it. I just want it to be okay. I just want to somehow just like get it to be okay and almost get him out the car so I can pretend like I don't have to hear it. And like, you are going to notice how uncomfortable you are with what he feels. And now it's your journey as well. Because when you can be comfortable with your child being in that much pain, and you can be okay with your own pain that you feel when they're in their pain, you're going to make it all okay. And when you make it all okay, eventually there'll be no resistance to it. And when there's no resistance to it, then he will naturally, his soul will search for answers. It will be hungry for an answer. And when you provide a suggestion, or when you say, well, would you like us to get you some support? Maybe I can, see if I can find someone that can help a little bit, or maybe I could talk to your teacher. Like, what would you, let's have a discussion. How could we improve this? He will genuinely be open to receiving an answer for an improvement rather than shooting it all down anyway and go, no, that won't work, and I'll just still be crap, and, continuing with this attitude. But he's picking up on an energy in the house right now, and he is processing that as though it's his. And that's why it feels so heavy for him to carry, because he's not meant to be carrying it, because it doesn't belong to him.
Yeah.
I think we've had this conversation once before. You know what I'm going to say, right? You know where you need to come? and let me cuddle you and help you. I know you're on holiday last year, but the next Happy to Whole, if you want to do that work with me, and you don't have to, but do it somewhere, babe. Like I give zero fucks if it's not me that you do that work with at all. What I care about is that the journey's calling you, babe. And I know last year, you wanted to come and you guys were overseas or whatever, but the next one's in October. So I would strongly urge you, if you feel drawn to do the work with me, to consider that. In the meantime, if you don't even want to wait till October, I would hugely encourage you to consider doing the soul parenting program. It's a heavy program. It's fucking emotional. As Sarah's in the middle of it at the moment, you can ask her, but ask anyone here that's done it. I think pretty much everyone on the line just about has. It's heavy. But it's deep and it gets to root causes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to do something on your own, by yourself in the background at your own pace, the soul parenting program will help you with that. If you want to dive deep, I would strongly encourage you to bribe your husband to come to Happy to Whole with you. Lots of husbands come dragged by the ears and then they leave being so grateful that their wives drag them. So maybe consider that. But otherwise, just 2 weeks, meet him where he's at. Don't try to change it. Just tell him that must be so hard. That must feel so terrible. Things like that, just validate so that he's like, he feels seen. Wow, you see me. That's exactly how it feels. Yes, it does feel like that. Okay?
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Come back in 2 weeks, no matter what, and I'll give you the next step. But I'm not going to give it to you now because there'd be a high chance that you try to shortcut the process, jump straight to that. Just your brain will want to do it, even if you try not to. And then it won't, it'll work short term. And I want it to work long term for you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay, darling?
Yep.
All right, use the group, okay? You might have a bit of a heavy week this week. You might have triggers hitting you for the next couple of days. You might feel sad. Use this group, okay?
Yeah.
Comment in the group and let us support you.
Thanks.
Okay, darling?
Yeah.
All right. Libby. Oh, hang on. Who said something over here? Oh, no worries, Jess. She's gone. Thank you. I don't know. It's why I don't need to ask him any questions as I first started with. Are you saying you say it's why I don't need to ask as many questions as I first started with? Are you saying that in relation to the soul parenting program, Shara? Is that what you're saying? Feeling their pain as if
Yeah, definitely. I think I used to be scrambling and desperate for answers, and I couldn't see anyone else's story but my own. But now I'm actually being able to step it back, hear everyone else's stories, hear what they're suffering with or struggling with, as if it's literally my own story.
Yes.
A lot more than what I probably was before. I couldn't see the advice you were giving before as advice I could take as my own. And now literally every time I'm sitting in these meetings, I'm like, yes, oh, okay, so that's how I can do that. Oh, okay, that's what I'm going to do there. So it's definitely changed perspective, I suppose. I'm not as desperate and clinging to every word that you're giving specifically to me.
Absolutely see that in you, babe. I do. And you have also deep dived into the soul parenting program. So, Danny, if you feel the need to reach out or do something in the group, Sarah and Shara both started the soul parenting program pretty close to each other. So they're kind of doing it all on their own. Because in the past, I've done intakes of groups and we've kind of traveled through it together. These guys are doing it by themselves at the moment. And if you kind of, I mean, they're halfway through or wherever they're at now, they're a fair way in. But there's some people that, are kind of in your shoes at the moment. Okay. You come here for support while you're dealing with your husband and son. You need love and nurture too. And you come here to get that. Okay. All right. All right, Lib, I'm coming to you, but I'm literally fucking cooking. I've got to take my top off. I'm sorry. I'm literally dying here under these lights. Dave goes, what do you mean? These lights aren't hot lights. I'm like, I'm telling you, they feel like they're hot lights. So I just get hot. I saw you before, Sarah, say, am I sick? I'm not sick, but my throat is, I've been partying a fair bit in Bali and whatever. And my voice has just been weird. This is how the enemy attacks me. Just when I've got to come back and do Zoom calls, it like fucks my voice. All right, Lib. I got you. Oh, you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I must have switched off. Oh,
yep, I got you now.
All right, I got me. Good to see you back. It's exciting.
Yeah, thanks. Good to be back.
Nice. I don't know. Do you want me just to summarize what I said in
Yeah,
my post?
can you? Because I haven't
wanna
gone
read-
back and read yours.
Yeah, that's cool. Essentially, it's about noise and about, obviously, we're still renovating. It's just, the kids just all talk over each other. And I'm sure it's to do with, like, I'm just trying to think what I wrote in the post, but essentially it's like, in confined spaces, they all just like it's bad, and it's bad anyway, but particularly in the car, or because we're all in the shed, is like the lounge room, kitchen, sort of TV. It's like a small space, but still I don't think it's like the full environmental change that like we've been in here for a while, so it shouldn't be new and exciting as much, even though there's heaps of new stuff going on every day. And so they come home, we're all home at the same time. It's just like heightened centrals, just like it's just so noisy, and everyone talks over each other. They can't even, like, they won't even stop and listen when you're giving an answer before they ask another one. The other one's asking as well, like they're all just screaming demands, and I'm like, I need either a whistle or like a talking stick.
Yeah.
Like I just can't.
Yeah.
They're out of control, and if they don't, and fair enough, I'd be like, Millie just is so full on and just does not stop talking the whole time. And we'd be like, Millie, it's not you've had your turn. It's Lockie's turn. Just it's his turn then. But I'm like, if I can stop her from talking, she'll understand that it's her time. But otherwise, she just keeps yabbering. And in the end, Lockie's just like puts her hand over her mouth or something, or just like pinches her so hard. And she's just like, he's like, I can't handle the noise anymore, Mum. Like he covers his ears all the time.
Yeah.
He can't deal with it. And just the pitch of it is so loud. And I'm like, we've got to get ourselves headphones or something, right? And Joe's just like, I can't deal with this. He's like, I'm just like, just go out for a walk. Or yes, Sarah, I don't, to be honest, I can do that. I just sit there and I'm like, breathe. But it's like, if you're in the space with someone else who can't handle the noise, it's difficult to like follow through. I'm like, you've answered it, just Lockie, I've answered the question. That's enough. Like,
yep.
And just let him scream, let him demand it. I'm like, no, you've given the answer, just let him scream. But there's just a lot going on. And I know it's a connection thing, and they obviously don't feel heard at the moment. And similar to is it Danny from last time, like Joe's just left his job as well. Like it's been a big decision. Like I've had this big, huge light bulb.
Oh, really?
Well, funnily enough, it's actually like I don't know, quick little snapshot. I've been rumbling over this for a few weeks now. Like everywhere in my life, there is renovations happening, and I've been trying to figure out what it means. Like literally my work, like both locations where I can work, they're renovating. There's obviously my own house renovations. The park down the road is renovating, like the park that we would go to once a week, that's all renovating. The main road, like main south road entrance to my house is like it's going to be roadworks for a year. There's renovations at the childcare down the road. Like
kids.
I've been trying to think, like it's huge. And I'm like, there's obviously some change. Someone's trying to tell me something. And I was thinking like, I think what it's come down to is basically we're just like, look, this job's not working out. And it came down to values. I'm like, the kids, we're all not coping right now. We need to just be more present with the kids. We need to get home earlier. We're like, right, it's been on the cards for a while, but essentially I'm like, just, you've got my permission, just quit. Like you need to quit. This is too stressful, because he's trying to do renovations on the house as well. So, I mean, we've recognized that that's a big, get all my adrenaline pumping. I feel like I haven't stopped for weeks.
I can imagine.
And I can feel like even now I'm like, and he quit yesterday, so it's almost like just trying to finalize all the pieces, and we have to organize, like we've got to change the car, we've got everything to do, so we're gonna have to get new cars and the whole lot. But it's like, you know what, fuck it, I don't even care about like the money we'll deal with. We have to change childcare. I've taken Millie out of childcare for a week, for 1 day a week as well, because she's not coping either. And it's like, I don't know whether that's the universe has told me enough now, so now I'm like, right,
yeah,
is that it? Or am I having to make another change? Like it just seems really full on. And I knew it would be with all these renovations. And the priority for us right now is to create this beautiful space and be more connected with the kids. We had a family meeting not a family meeting, but just a discussion over dinner, and the kids actually sat and listened, because we told them about it didn't align with dad values. And so he's quit his job and we're not going to have as much money. And so they're, of course, that process in their own different ways. But I guess we're in this awkward moment where this transition phase where the kids have been like, I mean, let's be honest, I feel as though the kids have been in it like an inconvenience. It'd be great if we could just have like 6 weeks off and get it all done.
Get it.
But we can't. And I literally think of the kids every night as a job. Like everything is a job. I'm really struggling to just get out of that real masculine energy. And I'm trying, but I just, now that Joe's quit his job, I'm like, you need to just find a work for a day a week, and then we can qualify for childcare and just finish the house.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a lot of talking.
Babe, you need to talk. That's a lot. And no matter how much you knew it was, going to be hard and disruptive, you still can never prepare yourself for the actual reality of it. You know it's going to be tough, but you don't know what kind of tough it's going to be.
Yeah.
So you can't.
And Millie's had 3 surgeries in the last 3 months. I was just going to say. So that's all new as well. Like, so she's had we've been doing eye drops 4 times a day for the poor girl. We only had to stop doing that. Like, so she gets her contacts next week. So that's another thing that we do. Yeah. So it's full on.
There's a lot. And I love that you're noticing that there's renovations everywhere. So I feel like renovations is a process of transformation, right? So it's like life is highlighting a cocoon that you're in at the moment. Every facet of your life is in some kind of process that will create the end result is a transformation, but there's the mess in the meantime, and the disruption and the inconvenience and the adaptability and all of that. So the fact that it is like everywhere, this is big for you, babe. This is like you definitely need to, whenever you can find some soft kind of moments, get some angel card. I would literally say create a ritual that can be 2 minutes a day. And one of the most simple things is get angel cards and pick a card every morning. Literally just like tune into the pack, just fucking shuffle it, pick a card, go, what's my message for the day? Just give yourself a message of some kind for the day. Like, just give yourself an opportunity to feel like life is supporting you. Because right now, all you're doing is supporting everyone, everything, especially now, supporting your husband, supporting the family, supporting the kids, trying to support yourself, just like everything. And I know you can do it, and you do it well, and, and we know it's temporary and it's going to be worth it in the end and all those things. But it also gets us in a space where, like you say, we get masculine, we get hardened, we get sharp edges, tolerance, energy fields, it all makes a difference. And a big difference that can be made is just like a reminder that as much as we are holding, life is also holding us. And I do it with angel cards, particularly when I'm going through shit and I can't even be fucked doing anything. I actually have a bad attitude towards it all. So angel cards are like, oh, all right, if I have to do something to make sure I feel like I'm a little bit committed, fuck it, I'll pick a card. Like, whatever. Oh yeah, that makes lots of sense. Sure. Like, fuck it, whatever. Like, I'll literally have that kind of attitude sometimes.
Which is what I'd have to convince myself out. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Because again, like 2 years ago, I'd be like, I'm never doing this stuff. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Who am I?
Yep.
And now I'm like, fine, I'll do your angel cards. I'll give it a go.
Exactly.
Whatever.
And even honest to God, even in a moment, like it can absolutely interject. Like it can just like absolutely change an energy pattern. Like you can be in the middle of like the kids all talking over each other, and Joe's like, I'm fucking leaving this shed. I'm gonna explode. And you're like, fuck, where's those fucking cards? Fuck, I'm just taking a card. What the fuck? And you literally ask your angels, what the fuck do I do right now? And then it's funny, but you feel like someone's there with you or for you, or just give yourself a chance to experience that. Get basic daily guidance cards, $20 from Big W or whatever, and just have something in it that there's an opportunity. Maybe it doesn't resonate. Maybe you're like, oh, that's a load of shit today. But there'll be a day where you just got exactly what you needed, and it will just change things. Okay. So just give yourself something to do that. Now, with regards to like Millie and the kids talking all over each other and things like that. Legitimately, I think the best way to do it, and I feel like I know your kids pretty well, is to actually have something that is a physical symbol. So I was thinking like a bell or something that makes a bit of a nice sound. It's not like some, I don't know, big thump or something. But the deal is, when the bell rings, there needs to be instant silence kind of a thing, right? And if you tell them, and you can even do it in a bit of a hypnosis way, you can say, guys, look what I bought today. And do you know this bell? This is a magic bell. How many of you agree that sometimes as a family, we all get a bit loud and we all talk over and we don't get our turn to talk? How many of you feel like that? Yeah, I do too. Do you know what? This bell is a magic bell. Do you know what this bell does? When your brain, so this is how you do hypnosis, right? When your brain hears this bell, your brain will just go boop to silence. And all of it, this bell is like a magic silence bell. And the thing is, our minds are, because like when it doesn't work, you know, Lockie or, you know, or even Lenny will be like, oh, that doesn't work, Mum, because she's still talking. And then you
I hate the stupid thing.
yeah.
You will like it.
So what it will do is it will create a pattern interrupt, right? Now, why you don't have a bell, you can do it as like a big clap or something, but it is better.
I do the clap. I do the clap. The clap works quite
does?
well, but well, sometimes they can't even hear the clap. They're that loud.
Right.
So it needs to be bigger than that.
Yeah. This is the thing with something like a bell, because it's not a regular, like familiar sound. It doesn't have to be loud, but we'll still pick up on it. Like, and especially if you've told them what this bell does and what this bell means. And as part of our family, we all honor this bell, and we honor that when this bell goes, it means like you can go to their compassion. It means when mummy or daddy, or, you know, you could, if you want to, you can give the kids, it's going to go over here on the shelf. And if anyone in our family feels like they need a minute silence, you can ring this bell. And we all agree and promise as our commitment to our family that we can give each other 1 minute or something like that. Maybe have a timer with it or whatever. It could be 30 seconds. It's just a break. It's just a stop. And then you've got space to redirect the next behavior. Because with Millie, especially because of her age, and she's, you know, gone through a fair bit in her little life as well, you need something to replace her behavior. You won't be able to get her to just stop talking. You need to give her something else she can do. And it could be something like, I've done this with a family before that had a similar situation, but it's like the kid got given this little slime thing, but when they got given the slime, it was like, you get given it while you're waiting for your turn, kind of a thing. So anytime this, like, you know, comes into your hand while you're playing with it, the deal is you don't talk. So like it gave their brain something else to do like while they're waiting for their turn to talk. And this kid loves slime, and they weren't allowed to have slime very often. It was just this little slimy ball thing that wasn't going to be something that attached to the carpet or whatever, but it was something that they wanted, whatever. And it's like, hey, Millie, I hear you got something to say. It's Lenny's turn. Here, you can, where's the ball? Let's go get the ball. You can have the ball until it's your turn next. And so it's something that she only gets while she's waiting for her turn or something. But it literally, again, especially because the tactile and all that, it'll literally give her brain something else to focus on. She needs, if not slime, whatever, like something that she gets to do while she's waiting for her turn. You need to interrupt her brain.
Yeah.
But also
even the bell and she'd have to have one in the car, one in the couple in a few different locations, because it's like, like a couple of it might be like a squishy ball or something like that in like the lounge room, one in the car, just so they're easily accessible to go with the whistle. Yeah, that's right. The bell's rang, you know, get them all one, different colors if you really want to. And you got your balls, and you can focus on your balls or whatever you got. And we do 1 minute. And I will let you know, me and Dad or whatever, we'll let you know when the minute's up. And no matter where we're at, we'll stop. We honor each other. We breathe. We can play with our little toy, and we're waiting for a minute. And then as they go to talk, you're like, just like keep doing things like that. Like interrupting like their brain, like, and it literally will break. Like it's literally like a neuro like stimulus that you'd redone. Yeah. So I just had especially at like 3 years old, you won't just stop her from talking. You're going to have to replace it. And you don't want to go, oh, well, that's it, I'm taking you out. Or you have to, you know, if you're not going to stop talking, then you have to go out of the room. Like you don't want to do isolation type things, because she's doing her best too, right? You all are. Yeah, I mean, she's just learned that's how you get attention, is you just be loud. Like she's just learned from the best, from Lockie about how to do it. And of course she's got I swear, just because of her lack of vision, I do feel like she relies a lot on her hearing sense as well. The fact that it's like this.
Yes, so true.
She gets a lot of calm. she must get a lot of comfort from it, I think. Like, I just sat in the car with her. I had to take her for a doctor's appointment, and I said, yeah. Like, we very rarely get to be in the car together. She talked for 20 minutes straight, like, did not take a breath. I'm like, yeah, okay, really, yeah.
True.
But it makes no difference when there's other people in the car or not. But
yeah,
that's
I'll
hard at
mention
the
this.
moment.
I don't know if you want to go down this road, but I do know it works. It works for me. It's work. I think Danny Keller has done this with Jack and a few people that have done it. It works, but disclosure has to be fully your choice. You know your children, because it doesn't work with some kids. You give them free reign for a whole nother, it breaks this cycle and creates this cycle, and it's worse, right? So, but let me just put it in your mind.
Yeah, go on.
That what we would do, and our kids used to fucking love it, and still even do, when they were like, especially in the car or something, like when Greg used to hit his point, he had like a resounding voice, right? He'd be like, "Stop!" like out of nowhere, and like it's like, whoa, it was full on, right? And I'm like, I used to say to him, "You literally scare me." He's like, "If I don't do that, I'm going to swear." Anyway, and one day he said something like some fuck thing or something. And the kids heard it, picked up on it, laughed about it, whatever. And then we made this joke, and this is how it all came about. But what we do is when they would be too loud, we'd be like, "Right, everyone stop, ring the bell, whatever, you yell, whatever you have to do, just get them to stop." And we gave them permission. You got 1 minute. You can scream as loud as you like, and you're allowed to say, this is the only time in your life you're allowed to say swear words. You can say any swear word. And it's like, literally, it's a release. Like, Bea used to love having permission to say fuck. She actually, is like 13, not even 14, and she swears a fair bit now. I don't have a high value around swearing, so I've also never put many boundaries around it. I don't really care. But you got to choose whether or not you want it, because obviously some kids can't disclose. Once they get given permission, they do it in the wrong places, in front of the wrong people and all that. But something like that, it might not be swearing, but it might be like, right, everyone's full of beans. You know what? I can tell everyone's wanting to, our bodies, we need to do a minute silence, but also I can tell our bodies need to get some stuff out. So what we're going to do, we're going to do 30 seconds of screaming and yelling, and you can just say mean words like, "I hate you," or this, you can say anything you like, that you just get out of your body, and you can yell it and scream it. And then when the bell goes, then it's silent. So we get it out. We're not overriding ourselves. And so that might really help Millie as well, like just to have permission to go crazy before she then has to do what they need, which is to be silent. And then the boys know there's a limit on this. It's 30 seconds. I've got to put up with it, but it's like literally I can do it, and I can scream myself. And if I'm screaming, I can't hear you screaming, particularly if I block my ears, because I can only hear my own voice. So
lucky the shed's insulated.
Yeah, there. Yeah, that's a good thing, Sarah. You can say poo and wee and butt crack. So you might not let them say fuck. You might say, so the words you're allowed to use are, shit, bloody, dumb, idiot, stupid. I hate you.
Stupid, hate you.
Yeah, you're an idiot. Just things that you normally, but you set really strong boundaries. You have a good conversation about it, and you make a promise that we're going to do this to get it out. But this is never okay unless it's in this scenario. This is against our we would never say this to each other. This is like, so you make it very fucking clear, and you'll know how to do that.
I think it would work. I think something like that
because it gives them a freedom while they've got all this restriction in their life in your scenario. It gives them a freedom they've never had access to. It's like an ultimate freedom. It's like, I'm not actually just allowed to, I'm being told to actually do things that I'm normally in trouble for. Like, it's an ultimate freedom.
Yeah, we could basically just be like, you've got a minute to jump. Like, they jump around on the couch. I'm not that fussed by it, but they could do a jumping on the couch and screaming and yelling and doing whatever they wanted. Because the boys they're very good at, like, one of their favorite things ever to do is like, can we do the wrestling? We set the timer for 2 minutes of the wrestling, and they're very clear on the boundaries for that, so that they know that they can be rough as guts, like with all of us. So that I think that would work well. Mm-hmm. And they'd find that fun to get it all out, but it would just be... It
would. And honestly...
calming it down after that, though.
No, well, if you do it right, and this is coming from, like, with Bea, who's quite sensory or whatever, it literally is the thing that would calm her. Like having this freedom and being able to scream and yell and say mean things and get all your dark energy out. At the end of that, it was like we just wrestled her on the ground. She would literally go into like a pazzed out state, like her nervous system would just regulate.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a lot of the time it's when we first come home and there's a lot of energy going around and they've all got needs. They all want to ask lots of questions. They all need help with something. They all want to bloody do craft or do something. And I'm like, oh God, it's easy just to say, come inside and just watch TV. But I've got this trigger inside me. I was like, I'm being lazy about it. And no, that's not what I want to do. Even though sometimes that's what they need. They just need some nothing time. Yeah. And
start with craziness then. Make it a ritual that, hey, while we're in the shed, every day we're coming home, we're putting our bags out. The first thing we're doing is 1 minute crazy. You can jump on the couch, all the rules, like this is what you can't do. You can't break things, you can't throw things, but you can jump on the couch, you can say mean things, you can swear or whatever, say idiot, stupid, whatever, make a rule. When we come home, we're just going to have what we call, like this happy
crazy
hour,
minute.
this crazy minute. We're going to do crazy minute. We're going to go crazy and get it all out. And then we're going to just go, okay, is that all that now? And then literally even go, just notice with your breath now, how good does your body feel that got all that energy out? Anything that needed to come out from the day just got out. And now you can find something to do. And honestly, I reckon it might regulate your children.
I think it'd be awesome. I think it's a great idea.
And instead of them coming home and being told, stop, shut up, and trying to bring them down, go for it. And it's 1 minute. It's 1 minute. And you, Joe, anyone can put up with that.
Yeah, I think we'll all do it. We can all have a yell and scream. I think.
Yeah, and I think it's funny hearing you do it. So yeah, try that. Give Millie give her something to do, hold, whatever. Like you were saying before, I was talking about our family meetings, that you got to give them food. Otherwise, there'll be fucking arguments. Everyone will be offended by the feedback, but you give them food and they're like, oh, yes, I can take that feedback. Thank you for the, it changes everything.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's awesome, Holly. Thank you.
No worries. All right, we're going to help. Hopefully, let me know how it goes. I would be.
Yeah, I will.
And I'll check all these for a funny story at some point. It will go good, and then you'll be like, think this was a bad idea. Here's what Lockie did today, or said.
Yeah, end up in bloody ED with cracked heads open because they jumped off. Like they're all mad.
Definitely have
cracked on mirrors and stuff. And I'm like, we'll have to clear them.
And they need to know this is while we're in the shed. When we go back into the new house, this doesn't happen. Or we can do it a different way.
Yeah, it's good. They're home in the afternoon tomorrow afternoon, so I'll explain it to them and they'll love it.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. I'm gonna go check all these messages that everyone's written. Thanks, girls.
Oh yeah, do before I end the call. I'll let you look at it before I end the call.
All right. Thanks, Holly.
No worries. Absolutely. I think Danny was saying something about what were you saying, Danny? Oh, the slime idea, fidget type thing. Oh, loop earplugs. Go back to there. Libby. My claps don't work at all, Sarah said. She said loop earplugs are amazing. They turn the noise down by half. I got them for my son in his noisy classes when he needs to concentrate. You can wear them in concerts, etc. Cool.
Oh, nice.
That might be good, especially for Lockie if he's the one that really struggles with Millie.
Yeah, he does. It's just I want to do the same thing. I just want to put my hands over my ears and
I get it. For sure. Yep. How far off are you guys from getting back in the house?
Probably I'd say probably another month, and then like another month of building, and then what, like painting and like trimmings and stuff. So I'd say probably 2 months. Being realistic. So it's
okay. It's been a long journey.
It's been a long journey, but it'll be worth it. And I think each time we progress, it'll just like it's getting closer, and there's less decisions to make. So for now.
Okay.
It's gonna be wicked. I'm excited. I just have to literally think about it every time I'm about to just lose the plot. But anyway.
I get you. And you have every right to lose the plot. So go get some angel cards, okay? It'll just help you feel like someone's there for you, or someone watches over you, and life knows what it's doing. It's got you in a chrysalis right now. So your wings aren't quite formed yet, but it's like you're no longer a caterpillar, but you're not yet a butterfly. You're like in the in-between. Like I fucking don't even know what I am. I know what I'll become. I know in the end what it looks like, but I can't go back. but I'm also not ready to move forwards, like in terms of into the new space or whatever. So yeah, life's really got that coming at you from every angle right now. And I want to applaud you and Joe, you for the support you gave him, and him for having the courage to, put your values first and yourselves first, and just go, I get it, money is important and all that, but, not at the expense of things that make you, break down your life. So
what is, it's just, we're just not present for the kids, and it shows, like, and Lockie's our direct mirror. Like if he's, it's so obvious when he's not got his needs met, because he'll make it known. Actually, all three of them, but it's just more obvious with Lockie, I think. And so we're just, when we've made the time to make that connection, and as I said, we always, it's not like, I feel a bit somewhat, not guilty, but just, it's not like I didn't think this would happen, but as you say, it's just like, you don't picture exactly what it's going to be like with the specific ins and outs until you go through it, and you're like, it'll be worth it, but it's just like such a patience game. And Joe, I mean, Joe and I, we're always, trying to, I think this decision has been quite heavy. Not that it was probably always going to happen, but it's just like, when were we going to do it is the question, and when is a good time for that to happen? And now that we're resolved in it, it's just so much better. Like it's a home straight now with this renovations, because he's going to be just focusing on doing that, and he'll be able to not have to do, basically, I've thought of you a few times actually recently, like more about like the fact that when you're putting all this time and energy into a job that you don't, it's not meaningful to you anymore. It's just like he's getting more and more frustrated because it's not aligning with what he wants, and he's sitting here at home just being like, I just want to be out there doing stuff. Like I just want to be building. Like that's what I want to do. And if we can make it happen, I was like, just do it. Like I just want you to be happy again. It's just miserable. Like it's not helpful. So.
No, it's not. And that it takes up a lot of space, because it's ultimately it's like a self-betrayal, it's like you're really letting yourself down when you force yourself to stay in those places, particularly when over here you've got a vision, there's something that is inspiring you, and you just can't sink your teeth into it the same. And then you care about your family, they're your highest priority, but what you've got left to offer after this has robbed you of half of your space, and then you've given what's left to this space because you're excited about what you're creating. There's just nothing left, and then you feel, I think good on you.
And we almost went back to our own values, like the personal values, and like his personal values are like literally just like creativity, ambition, and self-worth. Like self-worth, like it's all very kind of like creative driven and ambition, and just about being meaningful. So I was like, well, your values are like right down here at the moment, so that's why you are where you are. And
he will instantly come back into like the Joe that you know, and maybe it's an opening for something new in his life. Like maybe he can create a career or a business or a hobby out of not just creating something for himself, but maybe there's something in that his mind wouldn't have even opened to unless it had the space to consider those possibilities. And now when he's up there building the kitchen and putting in beams and this, like maybe he'll get like, fuck, I did that well, like I could help people with this, and like you could end up with a business out of it, or who knows, but like just let it evolve and trust the process. Money always works itself out, so
it's fine, and we've never been stressed about that. Like we're good at doing that. Like we've traveled for years, like we know how to do it. We know how to do it. It always feels natural.
Exactly. Good on you. Good on you.
All right. Thanks, Ellie. Cheers.
No worries. Give Joe a hug for me.
I will.
Night, everybody. Jess, I just forgot about you. Sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Totally forgot. Tell me, darling. Sorry.
All good. Sorry. So this is to do with my oldest child, the one that doesn't live with me, but lives with my mum.
Yep.
As you know, he's been diagnosed with ASD.
Yep.
At the moment, we're having a lot of issues with him and his violent outbursts. I'm just wanting some advice on how to deal with that, because he's getting to the point that he's really hurting my mum. So he's
How old is he again?
So he's 10.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's just got to the point that he's just broken my mother's back.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I had these conversations with Casey actually, and there could be some video of Casey Bingham, because her son had like similar thing, like was quite violent and can't remember who he hurt, but it was quite serious. Anyway, so Here's the thing. Here's what you need to do. Like, is your mum like okay when you say he's broken her back? Like, because what I'm trying to look at.
Yeah, she's just had had her L3, L4, and L5 fused, and she was trying to tell him that he needed to go to bed, and he pushed her over, and she's fallen onto a bookshelf and now has spiral fractures where the screws were.
Yeah, shit.
So, yeah, she's now in a
Here's the
permanent
thing,
back
what that
brace.
does to him, because he didn't mean for that to happen. Like,
Yeah.
it would, like, it literally, now he carries a guilt and a shame and a, like probably a self-hatred on what he's just done. And he'll, in those moments that they're that aggressive, they're normally not cognitive aware of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Afterwards, they feel so bad. They're like, why do I do this? I'm a bad person. And then the more they think they're a bad person, the more they live up to that belief subconsciously and do things that make them a bad person, which then validates they're a bad person, which means they live up to that. It's this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So, look, he's definitely got a lot of unprocessed trauma in there. And obviously, even being separated from you guys and all of those things, so much. Ultimately, it's a trauma journey. I would suggest to get him into regular psychology or counseling, just so he's got an outlet where he doesn't have to hold things and he can feel safe with somebody at some point that's not the family. That's because where kids struggle to really open up with someone they love is they don't want to hurt you. So they don't want you to know what their real thoughts are or what their real feelings are, because they love you and they don't want to hurt you, and they know you're trying and they know you're doing a lot for them and, whatever. And so they'll never open up to, someone in the family. Like, they'll open up to a complete third party type person, right? That's a professional that they can walk in, walk away, and I don't care what I dump on that person. They'll always process more with a person like that because they don't care whether they hurt their feelings. They don't have a connection with the person. Okay. So I would suggest that. Otherwise, cathartic stuff can help, but if it's not having a space where he can, like, getting him into boxing, or taekwondo or some kind of martial arts where he will learn respect and he will learn, he can be able to use his power in a healthy environment, but they also teach a lot of discipline and things like that, and respecting the master. So that can be really helpful. He's got a healthy space to use that energy. And then he won't have the need for his nervous system to vent it when he's at home. And even a space at home where he can throw things, break, Casey ended up setting up a spot because she lives on some land, and down the back, I said, look, if you're okay with it, I would, like getting him a whole stack of plates and cups and for 20 cents and stuff that you get from whatever, Salvos or whatever, allowing him to throw them and smash them, and his eyes see it smash and his ears hear the smash, and it's a whole body, like, cathartic experience for him. Can be really helpful when he was processing a lot of powerlessness with not being able to see his dad and stuff at the time. And it really helped him. Like, they've got a punching bag and stuff like that set up, but throwing and bashing and smashing and seeing it and hearing it and like creating the mess around him was actually like an analogy of his life. And it was good. But if the child doesn't have access to some kind of regular environment where they can be supported in everything, it also cannot be good. As a once-off, it doesn't really serve a purpose. So my biggest advice would be to try and get some professional help, counseling, or he just needs a third party that he can go to with no care about what he tells them. And it will take him a while to build up to not caring and feeling safe enough. It will take a month or two. That would be the biggest thing that I could urge you to do.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
The more that he doesn't get help, the more he'll keep accidentally making these mistakes. And when he makes these mistakes and he can't take back what he's done, but he comes back to his heart later on, he will hate himself for what he's just done to your mum, or for the hole that he put in the wall, or for whatever it is that he's doing. He will literally hate, he'll have evidence that proves why he's a bad person, that kind of a thing. And that's a belief system that needs to be broken over time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Holly.
No worries, darling. Shara just said her OT helps as well. The OT helps set up the basic day-to-day routines to help regulate her child's emotions. So, yeah. No worries. All right, beautiful people. Good to be back. I'll see you all. Let me say this. Next week, we're back on Tuesday. The week after, I'm still going to do a call, but I'm going to change the day because the Tuesday is my 40th birthday and I'm going to spend the whole day with my family and the girls are doing something special for me and whatever. So next week, we're back. Remind me. I'll change it in the group, but we won't be doing the Tuesday the 18th, but I'll probably do the Monday or the Wednesday. Okay, so we'll do our call that week. It just won't be a Tuesday that week. 83, baby. Yeah, so many people are turning 40 this year. Cool. All right, beautifuls. I will see you next week.